Now let's continue with the lesson. And now we are going to focus on the activity float time. Now what does it mean by the float time of the activity? Float time of the activity means the maximum time that the activity can be delayed without affecting the project completion time. That means how much the maximum time you can actually delay without affecting your project completion time, right? How are we going to find this? Now, if you look at the activity here, and the arrow is from left to right, okay? Now, I'm going to look at the start of the activity here. The start of the activity, okay? And for the start of the activity, I'm going to look at the EST value. Okay, so this is the EST value here. Okay, then I'm going to look at the ending of the activity T. Right, the ending of the activity T here. So this is LST. So for the ending of the activity here, look for the LST value. Okay, how do I find the float? I will use the ending activity LST value minus the T for the activity time, and then minus the start of the activity EST value here. So the whole process of getting the float is E minus A minus T. So float means LST for the end activity minus the EST start and then minus the activity time. Right? So what if I change? Right? I change the direction of the questions here. I'm going to turn it backward here. So with this, same thing. So I have activity like this. And then I change this way around. So I have this one as A, this one as B. So how am I going to find the float? What will be the float value here? So again, let's look at the activity. Right, this is the time involved for the activity. So I look for the end of the activity because the direction is going from right to left. So I look at the LST value for the end activity, which is A, and then I minus the start of the activity, the EST value. Then I minus the activity time here. Okay, so there you go. So do take note of the direction of the question. So go for the ending activity, LST, minus the start activity, EST, and then minus the time of the activity. Now, what about the activities on the critical path? What would be their float time? The float time will be always 0. Okay, then we are going to look at what does it mean by critical activities and non-critical activities. Critical activities are all the activities that are actually on the critical path. Whereas those activities which is not on the critical path is what we call as non-critical activities. Right, so from here, the critical activities, how are we going to recognize that? The EST value will be always the same as LST. And it seems like here you have some more new information the float times will be always equals to 0. And how do I recognize the non-critical activities in a network? AST value will be obviously not the same as LST value. And the float times here will be always non-zero. Right, now let's try to solve the example 10. Right, from here, you are supposed to actually find the float times for the activity. Okay, and it seems like there are 4 sections here you have to answer. Let's look at the first part. Okay, so this is the float time for A. How do I find the float time of A? So I look at the ending of the A activity, the LST value, minus the time of the activity, and minus the start of the activity, EST value. So I'm going to use 6 minus 4 minus 0, which you know is the same that I don't have to write here. Then it becomes 2. What is the unit given? Is 2 days. Right, now let's proceed with B. B is for C activity. So C activity, same thing here. I'll start with the ending activity LST value minus the T value and minus the start activity EST value, which is here. Okay, so float time for C is actually equals to 5 minus 5. You end up with 0. Now let's proceed with C. The float time for G activity. So G activity, the ending of the activity, LST value, which is 21, minus the time for activity G, which is 11, and then you minus the start of the activity G, the EST value here, which is 10, and you end up with 0 day. Let's look at D here. So what is the float time of F? Float time of F. F is here. Okay, so float time of F is actually 21. The ending activity F, the LST value, minus the time for F activity, which is 7, and you minus the start activity EST value, right? So minus 12. So the value is actually 2 days. Now let's look at the answer that you found here. It seems like some of the float time of the activity is 0, some is actually non-zeros. Now if you still recall, the float time with 0 value. Okay, what activity would that be? That will be basically what you call as critical activity, right? Critical activities will always have a float time of 0. Now what about the other activities which have non-zeros? So from here, I see that the float time that is non-zeros is actually here. And what can I conclude from here? The activities which have non-zeros is actually what we call as non-critical activities.